let me know if you need anything. I'll be listening to you.
Okay, wonderful. I appreciate it. Yes.
You guys can help to there's soda and water.
Thank you, Paula. I'm glad to see you've got your link. Happy to have you, Angela. Wonderful.
If somebody else comes in for signature, I don't think so. You can just have them sign in.
Oh,
by
sure.
scanning that.
Perfect.
Thank you
Okay.
very much.
You bet.
But everybody else has signed it.
They have. Perfect. All right. Patron. Coffee Pups. That's a cute name. All right. Well, we are expecting several, but I don't want to wait till everybody gets on. So it's already 4. I think we will just go ahead and go. And so thank you to everybody who's here. I can see your faces, and everybody online, welcome. Today we're going to talk about Colorado sales taxes, managing your licensing and remittance records. So there's many facets to Colorado sales taxes, as if you're here, you are well aware of. And this is one I don't think gets enough coverage. So we will be reviewing kind of what was covered in Sales Taxes 101, if you happen to attend that class. It was last summer. But we'll do some review so that you can get caught up and we make sure everybody's kind of on the same page. As we go through the course, if you have questions, just as you have them, please feel free to put them in the chat. Everybody should be able to type in the chat. I don't see any block here. Let me make sure. Yeah. So everybody can chat with everybody. So if you could put your questions there, I'll go through from time to time and we'll see if we can answer some questions. So I think with that being said, I'm going to get rolling here. I'm going to minimize these. So if I don't happen to see what I'm doing, you can't see online, but I'm minimizing chat right now. So if I don't hear you or don't see you, give me a moment. So again, welcome to Colorado Sales Taxes 201. We're going to talk today about managing your sales tax licensing and remittance records. And what I'm hoping to get through today, we're here from 4 to about 5:30. I think we've got a lot to cover. So I don't know that we'll be short, but I'm sure we'll finish on time. So first of all, we're going to cover why you need to manage your filing. You know, why, if you have an accounting system that calculates your sales tax for you and it provides reports for you, why can't you just pay that and call it happy? Well, we're going to go over some scenarios where that's really not a good thing to do. You can trust your software, but you may have some exceptions to it. Why do you need to manage your filing? So primarily is if you get in an audit situation. If you're in an audit, you can be audited by the state of Colorado, and you can also be audited by the home rule cities. So I am a board member of the Simplify Colorado Sales Taxes Coalition. And there are members there who are, larger corporations, international or interstate national companies. But one of them told me that they, at any one time, are in 10 sales tax audits at one time. So once they got you, they got you. So you want to make sure your records are in good shape and you can find them and know what they say. Another reason would be non-payment correspondence. I don't know if anybody currently uses SUTS, the SUTS system. SUTS is a new system. It's been out for about 3 years now. It allows you to pay both your state jurisdictions with state collected and also home rule. It was meant to simplify the whole process. In the meantime, it's kind of confused things for anybody who's tried. In this, we will go over SUTS a little bit, but I don't go deep into how to file with SUTS. But I do have a course on that if anybody's interested. I'll give you some information. You can sign up for my newsletter and stuff and see when we have some more classes coming up. But one of the things that happens when you file through SUTS is SUTS then reports to, SUTS, which is a Colorado state system, it reports to the home rule cities that you paid and how much you paid. Sometimes that link breaks and the home rule city would say, well, you didn't pay me. So you have to go back and prove that, yes, you did pay through SUTS and this is how much you paid, and it cleared the bank. So that's another reason. That's a very common reason. And another big one is claims and refunds. If you overpay, you may be due a refund. If you underpay, your chances are you're going to recognize that when you file. You got to dig in some of your own money. But for instance, Department of Revenue on the Revenue Online system, every now and then, if you go back through your historical records, you might see that you have a credit, a couple $100 credit. I have a client, they had a $9,000 credit. You can only go back and claim those for 3 years. After that, it's their money. But what I did, it was a new client. It was a credit that happened before I took over their books. And so I had to go back and try to recreate a refund. And I could not match it up. And they lost $9,000. So you want to make sure you have good records for that. So again, we're going to just kind of do a real quick review again of jurisdiction codes, what they mean, a quick review of the filing and remittance, kind of filing frequencies and the systems. We're going to go over the due dates, and then we'll go over a filing workflow and the documentation that you want to store and how to best maintain them. Obviously, everybody here is going to have a different business, and you'll just have to kind of tweak it what works for you. But that is what we're going to go through today. So just quickly to introduce myself, my name is Teresa Scheel. I'm an accountant, and I specialize in Colorado sales taxes, and colleagues and clients alike send their condolences to me a lot. In fact, I went out to dinner with my niece last night, who's also an accountant, and she also does sales taxes, but she does interstate. I do intrastate, and yeah, we were commiserating. But primarily what I do now is I work with SCORE. I'm an admin manager there. I help them market their workshops, etc. But I also have my own business. It's called the Nookship Online. My website is coloradosalestax.us if you want to sign up for my newsletters every month or so. Sometimes it's 2 months. I'll just send out any rate changes, any news that comes along, etc. Classes that come up. SCORE has some great classes. Not only with sales taxes, but for marketing, starting your business, business plans, how to understand your financial documents, etc. So I highly recommend you go to score.org if you ever have a question or need a mentor. And I want to also thank the Alliance Center here in Thornton. We are a partner with them, and we're honored to be able to present workshops to their clientele as well. They do great business for small business of Thornton. So primarily what I do in addition to SCORE is I work with companies on how to streamline their processes, how to make it easier to get your records in order and file your taxes more easily. Is that the right way to say it? I also do courses. I provide courses, and I also do, on a limited basis, I will do sales tax filings for some clients because I want to keep my toe in there. And again, I'm also on the board of the Simplified Colorado Sales Tax Coalition. All right, so let's start the review part of this. So we're just today going to cover intrastate, meaning just within Colorado, meaning if you are shipping from Colorado to another address in Colorado, or somebody is purchasing from your brick and mortar store perhaps, or if you have a nexus in Colorado, you might have an out-of-state business. Maybe you ship with Amazon and Amazon warehouses your stuff here. That gives you nexus in which you have to pay Colorado sales taxes at a destination sourcing, sorry, component. Sorry, I'm losing my words today. It's late in the day for me. In fact, all my sales taxes are due tomorrow, so I'm a little tired. All right. So if you don't know, but again, if you're here, you've probably been entrenched in this. Each of these represents a Colorado county, of which each city in that in those counties has a jurisdiction. You can have permutations of those jurisdictions. For instance, Aurora, and I'll show you a graphic here shortly. Aurora is in 3 counties, which means there's 3 different jurisdictions. Typically, the Colorado Department of Revenue will collect for state, obviously, and they will collect for most counties. The only exception to that is Denver County and Broomfield County. They are consolidated city and county. Otherwise, the state collects for those. And then we have our favorite home rule cities, which are peppered throughout the state. So total, there are probably, I think the last count was like 430 something jurisdiction codes that you might have to sign up for, register for. So again, what are the different Colorado jurisdictions? You have the state itself, you have the counties within Colorado, you have the cities, and then you also have special taxes, special jurisdictions. These typically go with the counties and or state, so they are mostly, I won't say always, but mostly state collected. So that would be done on Revenue Online and or SUTs, and we'll get into how you decide where you want to remit those in a moment here. So jurisdiction versus a jurisdiction code. So this is an illustration of a jurisdiction that would be the state, the county, the city, and then the special districts. Then the jurisdiction code that's assigned, you'll see all jurisdiction codes are 6 digits. You will see them hyphenated and not hyphenated. Even on the same Department of Revenue websites, they'll do it both ways. So you will see a 6-digit number. The first 2 digits designate the county. And the last 4 digits are unique to a city, or if it's an unincorporated area within that county, or within that county, you'll see 0206 or 0208. That's how you can tell if it's unincorporated. So if it's unincorporated, you don't have a city to pay to. Okay, and I'll show you how you can find all that information. But in this example, you'll see that for the home rule city of Aurora, they happen to have jurisdiction over Douglas County, Arapahoe County, and Adams County. Now your point of sale software or whatever you're using to find the jurisdiction for the address that you are collecting taxes for, they may say they're in Aurora, but you don't know which county they're in. So it's incumbent upon you to use the GIS tool that the state provides to find the actual jurisdiction code. Which one of these 3 is it? And I'll show you where that is here in a moment. But you can see it makes a big difference because the state is the same rate and the city is going to be the same rate, but the county is different. Sometimes even the special districts are going to be different. So you can see there's a different aggregated rate. So it's important that you know that before collecting, because you want to collect the correct rate, and then you also want to remit the correct rate. So I've kind of been fire hosing you a little bit. I'm going to go check at chat and see if we have any questions. I'm not seeing any yet, so I'm just going to go ahead and continue.
I have one.
Yeah.
Is Revenue Online going away anytime soon? Like, or is it going to stay SUTs and Revenue Online? You can file your state and
It'll remain the same because Revenue Online is the tax base for the entire state.
Okay.
So you'll see head tax, occupational taxes are on there. Your retail delivery fee, if you qualify for that, that's on there. So all Colorado state taxes are on Revenue Online. So yeah, it'll always be there. But actually, that's not a bad thing. So, and I can show you that here. Okay. So where are you going to find these jurisdiction codes? Let's start with the details about the jurisdiction codes. Department of Revenue gives you several sources. One is the DR 1002, which is Colorado Sales and Use Tax Rate Form. the 0800, which looks kind of similar, but it breaks it down by location and jurisdiction code. And then there's the spreadsheet of the DR 0800. I'm going to give you samples of, well, in fact, if you got my email today, I gave you examples of all these forms today. They do change every 6 months. The rates could change typically between January and June. And then again, there's another rate change from July to December. So you want to make sure you're always at the current rate schedule if you're using these forms. I prefer the spreadsheet, the DR 0800 spreadsheet, because I add to it. In fact, the copy I gave you, I've added whether they're in SITs and some other information that I find helpful when I'm filing. Okay, so just kind of review. So each Colorado jurisdiction denotes the county and then the city within it. You can have an aggregate jurisdiction that has different rates depending on what counties they encompass. And each jurisdiction code, if you sell to a brand new jurisdiction within a filing period, a month or a quarter, you have to register for that jurisdiction code in Revenue Online as a non-physical location. So again, we're reviewing here, but I will show you the screen here just in case you haven't seen it. So the physical location, again, is going to be your primary address, probably where your sales tax license is registered. A non-physical location is going to be where you, those jurisdictions where you sell into or deliver into. We're talking pretty much retail here. If you happen to have a construction business, sometimes, or I would say most times, those can get a little convoluted. So we're going to be talking strictly about retail here. But you would want to come to Revenue Online. So this is basically a screenshot of Revenue Online. And you go to the add non-physical locations. Once you register for it, for a non-physical location, or even your physical location, if you have no sales there, say you did one sale in 5 years, or whatever your frequency, every month, every quarter, you have to file a $0 return. Otherwise, you will get those non-payment letters from them. So once you register for it, just know that you have to file a return every single, whatever your frequency is, month, quarter, year. Okay, so how do you know which jurisdictions to pay? So here's where I kind of like to make a distinction again between what is collected versus what is remitted. So if you, let's say you, like the food truck here, we'll use that as an example. Whatever your point of sale system is that you use at your event, you're going to have to change your payment process or whatever that is to the rate where you are, right? Or if you do events, if you do craft fairs or whatever, for whatever that is, you want to change your point of sale to that rate. So with this tool, you can find what that rate is. Excuse me, if you have an online store, a Shopify store, for instance, or an Etsy store, those will calculate your rate for you based on that shipping address that you're going to send it to, but it may or may not be correct. So what I found is it has a pretty high rate of accuracy. In fact, Shopify is supposed to be integrated. In fact, I think they charge it as an upsell on their subscription. If you have a Shopify store, they actually tie in with the tool that Colorado offers. So Shopify, I would say, would be pretty accurate. But if you are on an invoice basis or you do quote to cash kind of basis, what you will be doing is going to, and I'm going to go there real quick, is colorado.ttr.services. Oh, couldn't do it because I spelled it wrong. Okay, so whenever you see in any of the Department of Revenue documentation, the GIS system, this is the GIS system. This is the one that for the state of Colorado is considered a hold harmless database. If you use this for your jurisdiction, finding your jurisdiction, then the Colorado Department of Revenue may hold you harmless, but not every home rule city is viewing it as a hold harmless database. But right now, this is really the only, if you're looking them up yourself, this is the only way to find a jurisdiction code. So I'm gonna put, somebody give me an address.
85 South Pierce Avenue.
385 South Paris, P-E-R-R, P-A.
P-I-E-R-C,
Oh, Pierce, okay.
sorry.
Avenue. I'm not even gonna put Lakewood or Denver. I'm just gonna put in the address. So here's one in Louisville. Is that the one? Okay, awesome. So you can see here, this is your jurisdiction code. This is your aggregate rate for all components of that jurisdiction. And then you can see what the breakdown is. Now, if you want to, I believe they have an export, but it's just, export, it's just gonna export this one. And so if you want to use it for your backup, your accounting, just in case, you can save this and save this with your monthly filing or your filing documentation. I have written a bulk lookup for this so that if you have a list of addresses, you can just put them in the spreadsheet and it will look them all up for you. I'm currently doing testing on it. So if anybody would like to help me test it, you can email me at the end of the presentation deck is my email address. So if you're interested in helping test this, I will give you a free copy of it. And, I can do 1,000 lookups in about 3 hours. Yeah, with no human intervention. So this is, again, the GIS tool that is provided by, it's a third-party vendor, but this is sanctioned by the state of Colorado. So let's see if we have any questions here. All right. Okay. So we'll start with Margaret. Hi, Margaret. My website is coloradosalestaxes.us.
Here's what I found.
I guess she wanted to know too.
Is that Siri or Alexa?
Yes, Siri just wanted to get involved.
That's okay. At least she found it. That's a good thing. So again, coloradosalestaxes.us. What is the tool used to pay state collected and home rule sales tax? That is called SUTS, S-U-T-S. And I'll show you here in a moment where to, actually, I'll just show you now. I'll be going off script here a little bit. But to find both Revenue Online and SUTS, you're gonna go to tax.colorado.gov, if I can spell Colorado. Under online services, this visit ROL will take you to Revenue Online, and logging into SUTS will get you to SUTS. Now, if you haven't created a new login, or if you don't have a SUTS account, anybody that has a Colorado sales tax license can just register for free. And so just do the new users and register. Basically, kind of at a high level, what this allows you to do is, first of all, you can file home rule cities on this tool. You don't have to use the home rule city platform. You can also, at this time, there are bills being discussed that may change this. But at this point, if you use SUTS and you register in Revenue Online for the jurisdiction code for a home rule city, it will populate in SUTS. If you do not have an account with that city yet, you can still file, which is a nice feature. That was one of the simplification features. Again, there's some discussion going that makes it really hard for the cities. Sometimes you get duplicate or several account numbers for the same city. So it's kind of caused some problems, but right now you can do that. So that's a benefit of using SUTS. Another benefit of using SUTS is you can file both the Department of Revenue side of it, along with the home rule side of it, both in one system, and pay in one system. So again, we don't have time to go into how to file those. I do have a separate class for that. But SUTS is really a nice, it's a nice tool to have. It's still a little buggy, but I highly recommend it. I may be the only advocate.
Is every homeless city a part of it?
I would say 95% of them are. Yeah, there are still, actually, I think there's a couple that still do paper. Yeah, yeah. We probably don't sell into those, but there are still some out there. All right, so Audra, I hope I answered your question. Paula has 2 questions. Is there an Excel spreadsheet that can be downloaded from this website? So by this website, I'm thinking you're talking about the GIS tool, and the answer is no. If you export, the export is just that. This, I would call it a report, you know, and it's, you would have to scrape it or type it into a spreadsheet. Let's see. We rent 2 golf carts that we personally purchased and leased them back to our HV something company? Oh, HVAC company. Do we need to charge sales tax? Ooh, that's a compliance question, and I hate to dig into it. I guess it would be, I would ask your accountant that question, really. It depends on how your company is set up. Are you a partnership? Are you schedule subchapter S? I hesitate to answer that question because I could be really, really wrong. So I would refer you back to your accountant. So Margaret, coloradosalestax.us, yes. Let's see. Oh. Colorado sales tax.us. I may have said taxes, so that's on me. My apologies. So it's just Colorado sales tax, not plural, .us. All right, so let's get back to our little presentation here. So again, I apologize, I went off script a little bit. Okay, so now we've looked at the website to determine which jurisdictions you pay. Now, again, if you're using point of sale system, it's not going to give you this jurisdiction code. So even if it is collected for it, it's not going to tell you what it is. If you look at your reports from that software, it's probably separated by agency. So you're going to see, you know, the state has X amount, which is going to be for every sale you make. If it happened to be in Weld County, you don't know what invoices those are. You just see Weld County you owe, but you can see, how do you know which jurisdiction code to pay for Weld County? You don't. You can't go in and say pay Weld County. You have to have a jurisdiction code, right? Which is why it makes it, to me, it's backward thinking. I think from the jurisdiction code out. So again, you may find if whatever frequency you're filing, monthly or quarterly. I'm going to show you a workflow here shortly. If you've already looked at the documents, you see it at the end of the deck. But one of the things, once you've kind of organized your transactions, you want to go through and see, have I already registered here? Do I need to register in Revenue Online for the jurisdiction code? And or do I need to get a sales tax license there if it's a home rule city? So that's going to be part of the workflow. And this is just an aside, I stole this from a different class. So it's pertinent, but not necessarily to our discussion. But again, the $0 returns, you have to file those for whatever frequency you've signed up for it. And according to Department of Revenue, they don't want you to delete them. However, there is a function to delete them. So I would say if you go for a period of 12 months and you haven't had a sale there again, go into Department of Revenue, Revenue Online, and delete it. You might have another sale there, but it's, you know, do you want to keep filing zero tax return or, yeah, sales tax return? So it's up to you. All right, it looks like we've got some more questions. Paula asks, oh, sorry, Paula. You know what? Let's just do this. Let's save about 15 minutes at the end. We're at 4:30. Is that clock right? 4:30. We're going till 5:30. We'll save, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes, depending on what we have, and everybody will just kind of raise hands, and if you want to speak your question, my apologies for that. Okay, online stores through WooCommerce, 2 quarters so far this year have not been accurate in collecting sales tax. I've been short about $20 each time. Unfortunately, that is pretty common. Can I get rid of that? There we go. But this is an add-on to our service. I cannot figure out how to make sure the aggregate is correct at the time of ordering. It's beyond frustrating. I agree 100%. And unfortunately, when you are a point of sale and you're taking sales 24 hours a day, there's really no way for you to be in the middle of that sale. If your software allows you to call it an estimated sales tax or estimate it before the credit card is actually run, you might be able to intercept that there. But again, I'm not familiar with WooCommerce's payment system, but that might be something you can check out for them. I agree, beyond frustrating. Okay. Colorado sales taxes.us is because it's Colorado sales tax. I said taxes. Yes, thank you, Margaret. All right. Okay, Paul says, I did ask the accountant, you're an S Corp, she couldn't answer. Okay, so if you're not getting an answer from your accountant, I would call whatever jurisdiction, since if your home is at the same place your business is, I would call whatever jurisdiction your business is in and pose that question to the auditor there, or whoever handles sales taxes in your jurisdiction. And maybe they can answer that for you better. If not, email me and I'll be happy to help you dig up whatever you need. I have some resources at SCORE as well. Okay, thank you, thank you, thank you. All righty, let's move on. And I'm gonna minimize this because I cannot read my little thing. Okay, so again, this is just another screenshot. If you have the deck, you might want to make notes on it, of the TTR services, the GIS tool. So again, just to review, Colorado jurisdictions are aggregated by the state, county, city, and other special districts. Jurisdiction codes are found by looking up the ship to address on the Colorado TTR services website. New jurisdiction codes must be registered as a non-physical location on Revenue Online. All right. So this is just kind of a fun little quiz if you want to do in the background on your computer, whatever. Go and look at what the taxes are, sales taxes are, like in your neighborhood. Or I did it at a place I take the kids to go eat, Cece's Pizza over in Lakewood. They like to go there. I looked up the address and I found they were charging the wrong sales tax rate. And I told them, and they didn't appreciate it.
They will when they pay those. Fine.
Well, they were charging a point more than they should have been. Yeah. So,
For overcharging?
when you file, if you over collect, you're supposed to pay the jurisdiction. Yep. In fact, there should be, depending on the jurisdiction, I know on the state forms, there's a place where you can put over collected tax. Yeah. All right, let's dig into filing frequency and due dates. So filing frequency. This is this little table. You might want to print it out and put it up on your desk. I have it because I refer to it quite a bit. My little pea brain forgets things easily. But this is the amount of sales tax collected monthly. If it's 15 or less, you're annually. The minute you hit the next threshold, however, you maintain that threshold. You don't bounce back and forth, okay? So up to 300 a month is quarterly, 300 or more is monthly. It's typically due on the 20th of the month and or the quarter, unless the 20th lands on a holiday or a weekend, then they'll scoot it out another day. But yeah, this is a nice little chart, so I would recommend putting it up if this is something you do all the time. Okay, we've been taking questions as we go here. So what I'm gonna do, let's see, this is more about the workflow. I'm gonna go back to the spreadsheets. So these spreadsheets are in that bundle I sent you earlier today. Let's look at, this is what I'm calling the spreadsheet of the 0800, the DR 0800. This is provided by the state of Colorado. Again, every 6 months, there's a new version that comes out because, you know, legislation goes through and they raise rates. I have seen some rates lowered, so you never know. But this I distribute in my newsletters. Again, if you want to sign up for a newsletter, I do add some fields to it. So for instance, column F, I add if it's a city that's participating in such. I also, this is, again, they provide it not hyphenated. So I provide it hyphenated so I can do a VLOOKUP. I don't know if, I'm going to show you when we get into the workflow, I'm going to show you the pivot table, and within the pivot table, I use the VLOOKUP command. If you're not kind of Excel savvy, these are going to be new commands for you, but I put it in a template. But basically you can turn your Excel spreadsheets into a database. So that's why I have it organized the way I do. But the point of me being here is that not only do you get the jurisdiction code, the location code is really the city. So you will see in unincorporated areas, for instance, 050206 is an unincorporated area in Los Animas County. So we'll just leave the highlight there. Dang it. How do I move that to the top again? I do that. There we go. Okay. So let's just scoot over. Actually, let me freeze this. Freeze names. Top row. All right. I'm used to working with several screens, so my apologies. Who was that? Doesn't matter. I'll just look for anybody 0206. Okay. So here's unincorporated El Paso, Texas. I know that because it ends in 0206. Now, this spreadsheet gives you the total aggregate rate. So if you were to put this on an invoice or a sales receipt, this would be at 5.13%. 2.9 of that is for the state. 1.23 is for the county. And there's an RTA of 1.0. And sometimes there's an MTS or something, and then there's not here. But you can see what that breakdown is. So for whoever, Paula or Margaret, I can't remember who asked, is there a spreadsheet? This is the closest you're going to get to that spreadsheet to download. So you go to the GIS to find the jurisdiction code, find the jurisdiction code here. This is my source. I just grab the jurisdiction code here and I cross-reference to this spreadsheet for everything else. It also shows you your, these would be your exemptions, county exemptions, city exemptions. And again, we're not going to dig into the forms a lot, but I just want to just show you where you can get the information you're probably most going to be looking for. What else did I want to show you on here? There was something else. I don't remember. It'll come to me. So are there any questions on what's on here and or what you would use it for? Go back, plain chat, where's chat? Okay, no questions here. Quickly too, I'm going to show you. Darn it. I wanted to show you, I think I closed them, the PDF versions of these, and you'll see why I prefer the spreadsheet. So this is the DR. Did I close it? There it is. The DR 1002, and you'll see the version. They're really good about updating these and posting them in a timely manner. 16 pages long, I believe, and you will see here are exemptions if you happen to sell marijuana or marijuana products or anything that is an exempt product. You'll find all your exemption information here. Oh, I know what it was. Service fee. If you're not familiar with service fee, it's also called a vendor fee. And what this is this is a discount that if you file on time, you will get this discount off the tax you owe, and you get to keep it. This is money you get to keep. Okay. So if you see that it doesn't match what you estimated perhaps that you were going to owe, it's typically this vendor fee. But what I do is I compare, I will use the spreadsheet because the spreadsheet has it as well. So you will see here, so for the state rate is 2.9%, service fee rate is 5.3%, which is pretty darn good for paying it on time is all you have to do. Then for the city, it's probably Denver, city of Denver is 4.81%. They don't have a service fee. Too bad. You paid on time, good for you. All right, let's go. Oops, darn it. What's that got? Bing. So this goes into that along with a lot of chat, I call it chat that I don't want to pay attention to. But so you'll see that basically this is just the spreadsheet in a PDF form. So that's why I prefer the spreadsheet. Then it also incorporates the DR 0800. And what this would do, so I'm trying to think of a good way to say this. What I have found a lot of companies do is they will collect taxes from their physical location. They will look up the jurisdiction code to find the home rule city. Then instead of filing, I'm trying to figure out a good way to say this, instead of filing the, they'll file the sales tax due within the home rule city, either in SUTS or on the home rule platform, but then they will pay the county and the rest of the special district to their physical location. So for instance, if I'm in Denver and I'm collecting Denver City, well, that's a bad example. Lakewood, I'm collecting Lakewood. My physical location is Lakewood, but I have a sale in Arvada. I'm going to collect at the 12.0058 jurisdiction aggregated rate. And then what they do is they will pay the city their portion, but they don't pay Adams County. They're paying Jefferson County, the county rate, which can be different. So this is why this form to me is very confusing. It makes it look like, oh, if I see that my jurisdiction code is in Benton County, I'm just looking for if it's a home rule city or not, and it's not. So I gave this to you for reference. However, I may have just made it more confusing than it should be. Again, this is updated every 6 months. You can find it on the tax.colorado.gov website as well. But again, I do distribute these the beginning of the 6-month period. All right, let's see if we have any questions. I don't see any, so let's move on here. Oops. All righty, so let's get into the workflow. So before I move on, does anybody else have any questions about jurisdiction codes, how to find them, what to file, or what to pay? Okay, let's talk about your documentation then. So this is the basic, and I use this for all my different clients, and I use it in whatever industry they're in, okay? So tune and tailor this as you need to for whatever accounting systems you work with. If you're doing Excel spreadsheets or QuickBooks, I'm going to use QuickBooks kind of as an example. But if you need help tailoring it, like say, email me, I'm happy to help you figure that out. So the first thing to do is to pull a detailed transaction report. So if you're unfamiliar with that term, that would be a report from your point of sale or whatever record keeping you use that provides the like a unique identifier, an invoice number, a sales receipt number, the date the transaction took place. Just for clarification, say Colorado sales tax are remitted on an accrual basis, meaning if you are a business that uses invoices, it's expected that you pay the sales tax due for the invoice, even if the money hasn't been collected. So if you have high ticket items, that could be something you need to figure out, you know, how you're going to float your budget. So you need to pull a detailed transaction report. We're going to go through the pivot table here so I can give you some visuals on this. So don't worry too much, but if you have it, make notes on it. You're going to assign your invoices and or line items to a taxability or deduction type. It may be as easy if everything you sell is taxable, they're all taxable, but I'll show you why it's important here in a moment. You do want to split out your delivery and or shipping, and you do want to split out any tax you collected. Okay, so if your reports show those, just include it as a taxability type, say non-taxable. Well, shipping can be taxable, so just say it's shipping or say it's extra tax collected or whatever it is, and I'll show you again here in a moment. For each invoice, assign it a jurisdiction code. So again, whether you look it up individually, whether you're not going to know from your point of sale, so you really have to go back through and get that jurisdiction code to make sure you are paying, remitting, and filing to the correct jurisdiction. And again, if anybody's interested in testing out this bulk tool I have, please let me know. Go through those jurisdiction codes and see if you need to register any codes in Revenue Online. If you have to register a new code in Revenue Online, it is immediately available to you. If you are registering there so that you have an account in SOOTS, if you're following through SOOTS, you need to wait overnight before it'll propagate. So you need to make sure you're doing this ahead of time so that you're giving yourself enough time to file and remit. You also need to see if you need to get a sales tax license in a new home rule city. So again, if you're using SOOTS, you can go ahead and file in that home rule city without having an account number set up. If you are needing a sales tax license in a home rule city, I recommend at least 2 weeks to get a new account because it can take forever. You might find that they're not responsive. It could be, you know, the platform they use many different platforms and many of them are confusing. So if you need to get a new sales tax license in a home rule city, give yourself at least 2 weeks to get that. Then you're going to transform your transaction report into a filing report. And this just makes it easy. I can file 3 huge company sales taxes in a day just because I've got the data organized and I plug it in, call it happy, balance it out, I'm good to go. You're gonna file and remit for each jurisdiction too. Then on your filing report, you're gonna document the date and the platform that you filed and remitted it on. If you remitted or filed a $0 return. Depending on your business, I would document what was collected versus what was paid too, just to see if you've got an issue with your point of sale, or if you need to tweak your process. If you are, again, in some kind of business where you are calculating it each time and putting it on an invoice, you're not looking at the right information or something's going on in your process. So I would compare what was collected versus what is to be remitted, and you can estimate that. Whenever you file and remit, I highly recommend downloading the receipts, the returns, if you can get them. I know I have left some up on Soots, thinking I could go back later and get them. And you have to get the help desk to help you because they're not available. So I would do it right away. That way you can file it all together. And if one of those non-payment letter comes in or whatever, you can look through your spreadsheet, see, yes, I did pay that jurisdiction, and here's where I paid it, and here's how much I paid. It makes life so much easier for you. And then make sure that you keep your reports and your backup, your accounting backup, for whatever your retention, record retention guidelines are. I would ask your accountant, but it's typically around 7 years, I believe, unless something's changed. But I would make sure to keep all that, I don't know, electronically. Some people prefer printing it out. Okay, so let's quickly go over, oh, I see a question here. Let's go to questions first. All right, hi Irving. What if you have a business that is located within another business in a temp space and have a virtual address for mail? Does it matter if the physical address is associated with another business? It shouldn't. Again, I would say whatever address you use for your sales tax license is the address you want to use for your physical location. If I've read your question correctly, I mean, you could, I just kind of am questioning the temp space aspect. Does that imply that you will be moving it to a more permanent space maybe? Because you don't want to start getting a whole bunch of licenses at a temporary address. So I would caution against that. Okay. So he's saying it's an office trailer and you'll move soon. So I would go ahead and set it up as wherever the trailer is located now, and then just make sure you change it with whatever registrations you have in the future, because that will make a difference on your basis there. Okay, great question. Thank you. All righty. So let's go ahead and review the jurisdictions and your options for filing and remitting those sales tax returns. And I have my own way of doing this, and if we have a little minute, I will explain it to you because it works really well for me. I don't know if it's sanctioned by any jurisdiction, but I haven't gotten in trouble yet. So we'll call it happy. Okay, so revenue online. This is the grand old lady. Again, it is the tax platform for all Colorado taxes, income taxes, occupational taxes, sales taxes, partnership taxes. Everything goes through Revenue Online. So that'll always be there. You can pay your sales taxes there for state paid jurisdictions. So again, you saw those on the spreadsheet. You can see which ones are state paid and which ones are not. DRO 100, again, this is just a paper version of Revenue Online. I highly recommend against it. It's a 3-page paper form. You have to fill it out and calculate it for each jurisdiction. I've seen them as large as 600 pages long. So you really don't want to do that. Let Revenue Online calculate it for you. Plus, you have to calculate your vendor fee if you get one. Revenue Online will just add it up for you. Makes it really simple. So that's, again, you can remit your Colorado state paid cities, counties, and the other special district type taxes, RTD, et cetera. And you can also remit the home rule cities on this form. Now, if you have a business that has local exemptions, for instance, I have a client that is in construction. They're a construction supplier. And in construction, there is regulations around, excuse me, in some jurisdictions, sometimes it's a city, sometimes it's a home rule city, sometimes it's a county, sometimes it's a city and a county, that when you pull the permit to do that construction, you have to prepay your sales tax. So the vendor has to know this and allocate that or designate that on the filing when they do it. So if you have kind of odd circumstances like that, if you're not either taxable or not taxable, and you get into some strange deductions, you might have to file in both. Yeah. And again, I can help you sort through all that stuff if you find out that that's one of your situations. But hopefully you're in a business where it's just, you're shipping out your beautiful things and collecting tax for them. And then home rule cities, again, you can file in SUTs if there's SUTs participating, of which, again, probably 90–95% of them are, or the home rule city, which would require logging in. You're going to have to maintain all of your logins and passwords, etc. They don't share. So that kind of segues us over to another spreadsheet. So I would do this separately. I have to do this for a client. This is not them, but I copied the format from them. So I would have some kind of a spreadsheet or logging mechanism that says what jurisdiction it's for, what platform you typically file in, what is your account number there. Account numbers here are going to be really important, even if it's in SUTs, because again, cities can assign more than one account number on accident. So you want to make sure that when you're filing it, that you check to make sure what you think is the account number is really what you're filing and remitting to, because that will create those on-demand letters and get into a pickle. And it's a big waste of time. I can tell you, I get into it all the time. Your filing frequency. So let's cover that a little bit. My recommendation would be, if you are filing in SUTs, at least even some people, and this is what I do, I file my state paid jurisdictions. I file that in Revenue Online because I can just pop through and just let it calculate everything. I know what the service fee is and everything. I only file home rule cities and SUTs, so I don't do both. And I find that for most of my clients, not all of them, but most of the time, it saves me time. So, food for thought. But as far as frequency goes, whatever, if you're using SUTs, whatever your SUTs frequency is typically monthly. I would just file everything monthly. You don't want to have to go through and say, oh, this one's annual and this one's quarter. I would just file them all, make it a 0, call it happy, make your life easy. Now, if you're filing home rule cities on their platforms, then yes, you're going to have to file it at whatever interval. So I would make sure that you keep some kind of notes on here along with the frequency. I do have some clients that Castle Pines and Castle Rock are notoriously not participating in SUTs. So I have to file those either annually or quarterly, which means I keep track of all the sales for a quarter or a year and then file them all at once. And it gets to be confusing, but again, we're gonna go through this spreadsheet and I'm gonna show you how to monitor that. So again, I would add an expires or the license expires and you need to renew on dates if you have that information. And it's also helpful just to have, what is the URL so I can log in, keep your password and log in a password with it as well. Just kind of a one-stop shop, maybe some kind of a Google thing or a spreadsheet or whatever makes it easy for you. But this is, just so you can see, this is what, 30, I can't see the bottom now. 31 home rule cities. This is a small company and we have to manage these many jurisdictions. So once you're there, you're roped in, baby. Yeah.
I'm sorry. So because you said that, the business I work for, I have about that. I have
Do you?
up to about 50 plus sometimes, like everywhere.
Right.
So is it better to use sets than for that? Because I have so many.
I would say, yeah. I mean, if they're participating city, absolutely. Yeah. Now, another reason I would use revenue online versus sets, we're gonna go in the weeds a little bit here, is shipping and delivery. For the state, shipping and delivery is, I'm not gonna say always, I'm gonna say mostly not taxable. Home rule cities, some home rule cities, in fact, I would say most home rule cities, tax shipping and delivery. So you've got to keep that separate. Now, if I have some heavy equipment clients who there's a shipping charge of $10,000 and they're having to charge the customer an extra 5% for tax on the shipping. So, if it's a small ticket item, probably not too hard to keep track of whatever, but if you're dealing with big ticket things, you want to make sure you've got those separate. So, point of my story is that there is no deduction on the form for shipping or delivery. You usually have to put, Broomfield is the only one where I've seen it. They've added it now. You usually put it under the other category as a deduction. Department of Revenue, they don't want you to put it in as an exemption. They want you to just take it out of gross sales altogether. So now you've got different gross sales, whether I'm reporting to the city or the state. So you've got to keep track of all those things. And again, I'm not trying to scare anybody. I'm just saying this is how finite some of these compliance questions are. So documentation is key. So that being said, we've got a half hour left. I'm going to wade right into the, if you're on Zoom, it's the pivot table template. Let me make sure I didn't miss something here. No, we got it all. Okay, so now just FYI, if you need to get a hold of me, this is my SCORE email, and this is my business email if you need to get a hold of me. We're gonna go just look at this pivot table now. So this is a template that I use for every single one of my clients. Doesn't matter the industry, size. I've found for my purpose, it works for most things. So again, you want to pull a transaction detail report. That's what it's called in QuickBooks, for those who have QuickBooks. Whatever your accounting system is, should have something similar, because these are basic data elements that you need. You need the date. I put type here because I want to know whether it's an invoice, a sales receipt, or a credit memo. Okay. You want the date of the transaction. You want a unique identifier. In this case, it's an invoice number. You want a name of your customer. You want a line item detail. If your invoice has 5 things on it, you want to have a detail of each one of those along with the amount for that. Now, if your software has what QuickBooks calls a sales tax code. If you use QuickBooks, you can probably use sales tax code for this information on a line item basis. Each item, it could be like resale is going to be more taxability for the customer. Like if it's a government or a school sale, most likely it's non-taxable. If you're selling to a wholesaler and you have their resale certificate on file, you can sell it to them tax-free as a resale item, okay? So those kinds of taxability go with the customer. You also have line item, like you might have a widget one that's taxable. Let me go down here. Widget one is taxable, widget two is taxable, labor install for those widgets is not taxable. Again, these are compliance questions that you need to check with your accountant or check with the jurisdiction you are selling into to make sure you understand the taxability of those things, right? Sometimes you need to collect additional taxes, retail delivery fee is an example, as a line item. I don't know if, hopefully everybody heard that as of July 1, retail delivery fee, if you do not make over or sell more than $500,000 gross, you do not have to collect retail delivery fee anymore. It did go up to 28 cents, and it used to be that it had to be stated separately on an invoice as a fee, and that condition is no longer there either. And if you are in a situation where you do have to collect retail delivery fee, you don't necessarily have to collect it from your customer anymore. You can just say, these are my taxable invoices, I'm gonna pay it, forget it. So as of July.
If you do collect it from there, where do you put it now? So I don't have to list it as RDFE.
Well, there is in the part of Revenue Online. If you're still, if it still applies to you, you will still have your retail delivery fee account. Otherwise, if you fell under the cap, they will just remove it. So that's how you can tell. You're still there, darn it.
That one's a pain.
Well, you know, people who are selling on Amazon, like you'll see, if you order on Amazon, you'll see 28 cents. But then there were some home rule cities that, because it was called a fee and not a tax, they were taxing the retail delivery fee. So yeah, so it was just, everybody was up in arms about it. It was pretty crazy. So again, whatever transaction you report you can get that has the date, a unique number, the customer, the line item detail on it, the amount for that item, and then whether your software pulls it or you need to go back in, maybe you just kind of filter and sort by item and you know, oh, this one's taxable if it says labor, these are all non-taxable. Whatever you need to do to categorize it, basically. And then you need your ship to information. So if you are only brick and mortar and you don't ship or deliver anywhere, it's going to be just your jurisdiction. Okay. If you have events, you need to have your different event addresses here, right? Then, like the workflow said, then you need to assign the jurisdiction code. And I like to put the aggregate rate too, so I can estimate what I'm supposed to be paying per invoice, not only per jurisdiction, but per invoice. So I can break it down that way too. Then I also pull in, so if you look here, what I have in here, so I recommend, I think I say here, do not edit, do not edit. These are functions that I put in. So you can copy this to another spreadsheet if you want to edit it, but I highly recommend don't edit these because there's functions under here. What it's doing, if you look here, this master JC tab is that spreadsheet that I showed you, that 0800 spreadsheet. So what it's doing is it's looking up for this number and it's going, oh, pull this value in or pull this value in. And I go back here. So yeah, I can see I've got some sales in Blackhawk in Gilpin. That's a self-collected. I do this and you'll see it in the pivot summary. I don't know if you are familiar with pivot tables, but they are a powerful thing. I love them. I use them for everything. So this is the data that I'm pulling off that 0800 spreadsheet, okay? And then I also have some spaces here where you can document when you pay it. Maybe I paid everything in SUTs. I'm just gonna say on 9/20, I paid in SUTs for the city, because the city and state, you might find that you need to pay in different platforms, right? But this is a way that, let's say you get in a situation, Westminster sends you, oh, you haven't filed this month. You didn't file anything. You go back through, you see that you had sales and you know you filed because you can see it in your checkbook that you paid it. You can just come here and query for the Westminster jurisdiction code, or just, you know, look by city. I'm looking for Westminster. Oh, heck yes, I did. Then you have your copies of your receipts and everything, and you just pack them up and ship them back, because most of them have an email you can send to. So it makes it so much easier if you ever find yourself in that position. And like I say, I've got several clients that I do this monthly for, so it keeps me busy, but this keeps me sane. Okay, so this is basically your data table. I added this little purple column. I don't always do this, but if your software can give you the tax that was collected, I would put that here too, just so you can compare tax collected to what tax was paid. Now, this pivot summary tab takes all that information that's in that data set, and we organized it. And why can't I shrink it? That's weird. I can't shrink it. Sorry, guys. If you have it open, you might want to, oops. There we go. Now we go. So what this is, if you're not familiar with the pivot table, what it does is it turns your data, your flat data, into a matrix, okay? So if I just click anywhere within the pivot table itself, and you can see it's got a border around it. If I come down to the bottom and I say show field list, you can see what my my X and Y for my matrix are. So that taxability code, that one where I asked you to go in and quantify or categorize everything, that is the column. And your jurisdiction codes and some other information, I've got 3 values here that become your rows. And then it aggregates that data. So for instance, if you were filing in revenue online, you would be filing for each one of these jurisdictions, whether it was in SUTs, not in SUTs, or this is what I do. State collected, this is out of state. You're out of state, you're gonna add to your physical location filing. Okay, and then you're gonna deduct it back out. Just FYI. But you can see when I go into revenue online, I go into 010006, my gross sale is this, my resale is this, well, I'm gonna take actually other sales tax out because I'm not paying tax, it's not a deduction, and it's gonna change my grand total. So you want this matrix to reflect only those deductions. So you can see, now this turns into, you know, your deductions and your exemptions on your tax form. Anybody have questions about that? Clear as mud? I've lost you. So again, grand total, that's my gross sales. Taxable sales is what I want to see reported on as taxable sales and revenue online. So I'm going to say this much ended up is a deduction for resale. This is non-taxable sales. I don't have any government deductions, but I do have some freight. Now, depending on whether it's taxable or not, you may not want that in your gross sale. Like I said, you got to know kind of the compliance around that. But this makes it so much easier, because if I don't want it, guess what? I don't have to tear things up. I just take it off my list. And now my gross sale has changed, and I just have that information that I need for deduction. So I know I just fire hosed you. Anybody have any questions? I don't see any chat questions. Yeah.
Completely eat this and,
Overwhelmed.
wow.
Sorry.
It's all good. It's an eye opener. I'm gonna be selling through Shopify.
Okay,
So that means taxes are gonna be based on my jurisdiction or the customer's address.
it should be where you ship or deliver it to. So in Shopify, you want to make sure that in your setup that you need to collect taxes for Colorado.
Okay.
And then it will know that if it's a taxable item, when you set up your, I think there it's called, it's not category, you've got collections and inventory or something like that. I believe within there, you say whether that item that they can select from is taxable or not. And then when they complete the order and put their ship to address, Shopify will calculate it based on that. Okay? And Shopify, I know, does have a separate sales tax report, but again, it'll say state of Colorado, county of Weld, city of, so you still need to know the jurisdiction.
Okay.
So what I do for my clients now, my clients typically have it integrated with their QuickBooks. You don't have to. But I will take the transaction reports out of Shopify. I'll get a list of the number and the address, the ship to address, and I'll pop them in this bulk lookup tool and it will go out and it will look them up. And
Okay.
that way I can populate this spreadsheet.
And that's what you were talking about earlier?
Yeah, so if you want to test and you have access to Excel, you can, yeah, just go to the website and opt in.
Okay.
And then I'll show you how to use that. Yeah, it comes in so handy. Okay, I do see a question. All right. Okay, Margaret sells at special events, farmers markets. State tax said I owed several $100s that I know I had paid, so I called Revenue Online. Yeah, probably I've waited on hold for 4 or 5 hours, literally. That I had been filing the sales tax collected at the recurring markets as special event tax and not as sales tax. Oh, okay. She wants me to send a list of what I paid and also the markets that should have filed the sales, not special events. She said there was a way to email within the account. That's all I need to do. Also, she was really unpleasant. I'm sorry. I have an opinion on that myself, but I'm being recorded. So she seemed annoyed. Yeah. Yeah, unfortunately, they're kind of like IRS agents. In fact, during the pandemic, when I was doing this, they literally had hardly anybody there. And I would wait 4 or 5 hours. It was before they had the callback option. You know, if you sit on hold, sometimes they'll say, you know, press 1 if you want us to call you back. They didn't have that. And I kept getting the same girl, and she was just like this. In fact, this could be her. And yeah, she would hang up on me. She would recognize my voice, and after I waited on hold, she would hang up on me. You know, but it's gotten much better. So I do appreciate their plight for sure. Okay, you did get the callback option. Good. Okay, so Margaret, why don't you email me and I can help walk you through this. I think they're pretty specific on what they want you to provide, and probably more than we can talk about here. So why don't you email me? It's in the last page, I'm assuming. Yeah, I don't doubt it. But yes, please email me and I'll help you walk through what you need to send them, because they're pretty picky about it. All right, so let's walk through what to do. So again, this is a fire hose, I know, but here's the beauty of this pivot table, and I'm going to show you what you can do. So if you want to play with this, here's my recommendation. Keep a clean copy of this, and maybe even, you know, do this for every filing frequency or whatever. But this can become your backup for your accounting if you ever need do it in an audit situation, or like Margaret, you've got to prove that you did something and filed in the wrong place or whatever. This transaction detail will become your friend. You'll be able to come in here and query an invoice or a jurisdiction code, and you can say, yes, I paid it. No, I didn't pay it. Oops, that was supposed to be quarterly. I better file it. So you can, whatever your filing periods are, you can make more tabs, maybe a monthly tab or a quarterly tab. Or if you don't have many sales, just keep adding it on to the same one, because then you could filter it out. You can say, oh, I only want to see the dates that are March 3rd or whatever. So this is a pretty powerful little tool. Your accounting software is not going to do this, by the way. So Excel is probably your best bet for this. And then I wanted to show you, it's 5:20, so I am running out of time. My apologies. But I wanted to show you, if you want to play with this, again, keep a clean copy and then rip up, go in and just play with it and see what you can do. And if something happens, just take another copy. And if you ruin it, just let me know and I'll send you another. But what you can do is look at this field list. Now, Revenue Online is jurisdiction code centric. Okay, that's what they look at. Now, SUTS is home rule city centric. They don't care about the jurisdiction codes. In fact, if you look here, this is not a good example. Well, it is a good example. You see, I have Aurora here and I have Aurora here. I might have another Aurora somewhere. It doesn't look like it. But what they've done in SUTS now, if only for certain cities, if a home rule city has more than one jurisdiction code, they pick one of those jurisdiction codes and they want you to file all your city ones there. So now you're breaking it out for one system and now you're combining it again for another. So here's what you can do, and this is what I do, is you just change the order. So for instance, here you can see, maybe not, jurisdiction city is the last in the list. So you can see home rule, SUTS, JC, and jurisdiction city are my rows, right? So here, maybe I want to put jurisdiction city up before home rule, and it'll change it. Or after, well, I want to bump it up one more. The screen resolution is bad, but you can see it'll change the look of your screen. So now if I want to do Aurora, now it's adding those together, and now I can see my Aurora gross sale is 13. So I can fill out my forms easier that way. Does that make sense? Okay, I see some questions on chat. So, all right. Okay. Oh. Yes, Margaret. Last page on the deck, I think. All right. So, again, this will become your friend. I know it looks daunting to begin with, but it will become your friend. Now, the last piece of this is that if you do it, I'm gonna go back to the way it was here. If I start adding, like in Revenue Online, I always add the date I paid it, how much was my service fee, because in my accounting, in my chart of accounts, I have special accounts for my over and under collecting and my service fee that I know I can keep. It's not considered income, it's an asset, blah, 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 blah. So I want to keep all those details separate. But now if I start putting, information here and I change this, let's say I change the order of this, or I take home rule out, it changes everything. So you'll lose your relationship to the data, right? So what I do is I take a copy. So I go up and I highlight the whole spreadsheet and I copy it, Control C, and then I have this tab here called Filing Report. This way I can copy it here as just text. I can do whatever. And then here you'll see, I'm gonna document the date I filed. This is probably all one date. Although you can do these, after the first of the month, there's no reason you can't file and pay your sales taxes for the previous month or the previous quarter, right? So you might have different dates here. So I document the date I filed and paid in SUTS or Revenue Online or the home rule city. Because once you start collecting all those different jurisdictions, you're gonna get confused what you paid when and where. It doesn't have to be this hard. I'm kind of, being broad to capture everybody's situation, but I'm not trying to be too frightening. So we're almost at 5:30. We've covered everything, whether I've answered everybody's questions. I hope so. Oh, what does SIT stand for? Sales and Use Tax System. It's not really used for use tax yet, but it will be. That's a whole different kettle of fish. So we can talk about that in a different class. But does anybody have any questions? Have I befuddled and confused? Yeah. Everybody in the room is nodding. I'm assuming everybody on Zoom is nodding as well. So again, thank you for coming. I hope I at least sparked some, now you know what you didn't know. And if you have more questions, just feel free to email me. I'm happy to help. If you need a SCORE mentor or help from the Alliance Center, everybody's here to support you. And our classes come up occasionally. I have some on my own, but usually I deliver through SCORE. So watch the score.org website. And hopefully we can get all your questions answered. Wonderful. Thank you, everybody. You're more than welcome. My pleasure. I'm a numbers nerd. I'm bad. Okay, who? Oh, Dawn. Yeah, if you don't, I will check and say I emailed them earlier today, so I will double check. Actually, can you email me your email address, because I might not have you on the list. Well, let me put my email address here just in case somebody doesn't have the deck and they want to email me. There. So copy and paste that from the chat if you like. Thank you again, everybody. I appreciate all of you. Much success. And let me know if you have any questions. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks. Now I've got to figure out how to, there we go. Shut it down.
I did that.
Oh, all right.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Good luck.
We hope to see you again. We'll keep track of you when you do more of these.
Yes, well,
Yeah.
like I say, I'm all over, so you'll find me probably here at the Alliance.
Yes.
Wonderful. Thank you. Nice to meet
You
you.
want to put a yes to the class?
Yes.